Hello, people of the tube, and welcome back to the Down and Derpy podcast. I do apologize for that bullshit that happened a couple minutes earlier. Unfortunately, YouTube, once again, is fucking convoluted and full of shit like usual. So, alright, I am Chris.
I am William the Real Deal.
I'm Ty.
Alright, so like I was saying before, Chloe cannot be here tonight because she is unfortunately sick. And I didn't even bother sending Don one because I already knew that he wasn't going to be on it. So I'm way ahead of the game and all that good shit.
In the chat, though.
Oh, I seen him in the chat. I seen him. He was like, I can't do it tonight. And that's why I didn't send him one because I already knew what he was going to say because I think ahead of time.
Okay.
Half the time.
Shit. All right. Well, fucking tonight, man.
I'm going to send John one real quick, though. I mean, he hasn't been on it lately, but I'll try to send him one. The link. Hold on. See here. I don't see the video on your channel yet. I reloaded it, but yeah, it's weird. Oh, wait, there it is. I see it now. Okay. All right. Yeah, we're good.
All right. So you're sending it to John then, or whatever you're doing?
Yeah, I'm sending it to John at the moment. Hold on, let me see here.
All
there
right,
we go.
all right.
And I'll remind him on Discord just to double check. He might be working though, because the last time he said he couldn't be on the stream because he was working.
Hold
on, let me see.
Oh, and by the way, I could talk about this shit for hours. But since last time we went past the 2.5 hour mark, I believe, we're going to cut this one a little shorter, and instead it's going to be an hour to about an hour and a half. We're going to try and hit it for an hour, but if it's an hour and a half, that's fine with me. So it should be done about 11. So
yeah, and unfortunately, I don't have my notes as well, so because I've been fucking working all goddamn week long, and it's been a hell trip for me.
Well, oh, fuck. I cut out the fan ones. Shit, okay. I just want to make this quick announcement. The next two Down and Derby podcasts, the next one's going to be on TV shows. The one after that, though, because I want YouTube to fuck me over, and I feel like it's about good time that they give me a good old dickin', the topic after that will be on suicide. Right. We're going to cover suicide on this show. So next one, TV shows. After that, suicide. Since we already covered pornography, we're covering serial killers tonight. Honestly, I think the natural progression would be suicide. So
in terms of podcasts.
Yeah. Podcasts. So that's what we're going to go for. But I'm just a quick little thing, not to take up too much time, since we didn't do the live stream last week because it took a break and all that good shit, which probably every month we're going to do that. I have no videos that will be coming out this weekend from now all the way until Monday. So nothing new for me. And how about you, Real Deal, real quick?
Nope.
Okay. And anything from you, Ty, coming relatively soon?
No. I am thinking of reviewing A Clockwork Orange, though, but that's all I can really think of.
All right. Well, then shall we begin? So now I've chosen serial killers, because I find them to be extremely interesting. What makes a man, or woman, in the case of Eileen Wuornos, want to kill? Our own military shoots people all the time, but that's what they're trained to do. They're trained to be brainwashed by sergeants and then to go kill women, children, and other men. It's war. We give them the excuse of war is hell. But here's the thing. Serial killers, a lot of the time, if you study serial killer lore or their backstories, a lot of them grew up in abusive homes, or they have had bad relationships, or if you go today, if you consider all the mass shootings, they're bullied. Like a lot of the mass shooters today have been bullied. They can't seem to find a woman. And I could actually do an entire podcast on the whole, male masculinity, can't find a woman, I want to go shoot up a school thing. But unfortunately, we're going to have to save that for later because I have a feeling that would make a very interesting podcast. But today we're just going to cover serial killers like Ted Bundy and John Wayne Gacy, Jeffrey Dahmer, Albert Fish, and such. So I will begin by saying I actually did, and I know a lot about Albert Fish. Albert Fish is actually one of the oldest men to ever been put to death. He was actually hanged for killing, he said, up to 6 children and raping 400. He raped or molested. It's, it's convoluted, really, since he was so old at the time. What he truly done to the 400 other children, like when he served as a lifeguard at the pool. But when they captured Albert Fish, his penis and ball sack was actually stuck with pins. He had large pins inserted into his ball sack and penis, and he had numerous objects inserted into his ass because Albert Fish was sadistic and a masochist, if you will. His children mentioned the fact that when they were kids, Albert Fish would get the children and the neighborhood children to beat him with wooden paddles that actually had 1-inch nails attached to them, attached to it. They would beat him on his naked ass flesh until the flesh would rip off, and he really enjoyed it, apparently. But Albert Fish, after all this sadistic material and after all this shit, wasn't caught until he actually killed Grace Budd. Grace Budd was his 6-year-old victim. He had found a newspaper article from the son of Albert Budd, and the son wanted a job on a farm. Well, Albert Fish came to visit them, and he offered to take Grace Budd to a party. Well, this was like the 1930s, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure that was the time period, maybe earlier, to a party. Well, this guy was offering their son a job. They were poor, so of course they let their daughter go with him. Albert Fish took her to an abandoned house where he proceeded, and I actually have the letter he wrote to Grace, Bud's mother. Let me read it to you because I think that if you're into serial killers, this is pretty interesting. This is the letter, the exact letter. You can read online. On June 3rd, 1928, I called on you at address and blah, 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 and I brought pot, cheese, and strawberries, made lunch, blah, 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 all the shit, reminding the mother of what he promised them. On the pretense of taking her to a party, you said yes, she could go. I took her to an empty house in Westchester I'd already picked out. When we got there, I told her to remain outside. She picked wildflowers and went upstairs and stripped all my clothes off. I knew if I did not, I would get her blood on them. When all was ready, I went to the window and called her. Then I hid in the closet until she was in the room. When she saw me all naked, she began to cry and tried to run down the stairs. I grabbed her and she said she would tell her mama. First, I stripped her naked. How she did kick, bite, and scratch. I choked her to death, then cut her into small pieces so I could take the meat to my rooms, cook and eat it. How sweet and tender her little ass was roasted in the oven. It took me 9 days to eat her entire body. I did not fuck her, though. I could have if I wished. She died a virgin. And that is the letter that Albert Fish sent to the victim's mom. And through the letter, the police was actually able to find him, and they convicted him, and he was hung for being a sadistic fuck. So that is the story of Albert Fish. So yeah. What do you guys think of good old Grandpa Fish?
He's that's pretty fucked up. This is a long time ago. Like this happened this happened a really long time ago, it looks like. Looking it up right now.
Yep. And the reason that Albert Fish was able to do all this sadistic shit and pretty much get away with it for many years is he looked like your typical old nice grandpa. So he was able to sneak in and do all this shit without people really noticing. And that is a mindset. Because here's the thing, and the reason I find Albert Fish actually so memorable and interesting is Albert Fish was not only one of the first child molesters, rapists, and murderers that we have known, as a serial killer. But here's the thing. What made Albert Fish snap to where he not only raped and molested children, but he followed that up with cannibalism? He was a masochist and a sadist all in one. This motherfucker had all of it. He wasn't just a cannibal like Jeffrey Dahmer. This motherfucker also raped and molested children. You see what I'm saying? He is the ultimate embodiment of almost every serial killer that came after him, and he's a fucking monster is what he is. So how about you, William? What do you think of good old Grandpa Fish?
Well, pretty sadistic, I would say.
You wouldn't hang out with Grandpa Fish?
Not even for a cold beer.
Oh, I don't know, man. I think I'd hang out with it. He had good beer?
Yeah, if I had the time, I probably would.
Like if he had good beer, I might. And I mean good beer, which means, well, basically no beer, because I've never tasted a really good beer. So,
All right. Yeah, that's one thing I think. I won't talk about Jack the Ripper really because everyone kind of knows about him, right?
well, yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Jack the Ripper, I'm actually glad you brought up. Have you ever seen? Now, not to go on the movie rant like I always do, but
Here it goes.
From Hell. From Hell.
He was like one of the only ones that like never got caught though, right? Didn't he murdered like prostitutes? Is that what he did? Or that's all I know about him. But
No, he murdered prostitutes, but they have. If you watch From Hell or even read the graphic novel, I actually have it sitting over there on my shelf. What a lot of people think is that he was actually not like a madman. He wasn't no lower class butcher. He wasn't nothing like that. He was actually a very prominent individual. In fact, they think he was a doctor to the Queen at the time in England, which makes it even more interesting. And there is a little questioning on whether he was part of the Freemasons. So that's in there too. In fact, if you watch the film or read the graphic novel, they talk about how he may have been in the Freemasons. And if anything, then the Freemasons actually are the ones that took him down because, they don't want you to know that they actually exist. And here's this crazy fucking doctor to, the Queen and her son going around killing people just because, he wants to create the ultimate, like, human art form and guts and all kinds of shit. So I enjoy From Hell. I think it's a good thing. Like I said, Jack the Ripper just has so much material on him.
so what exactly he killed them? But did he do anything else to them? Like, is there anything else or is he just kind of known because he was never caught?
Both. I mean, he cut them open and gently took out their body parts, and you have to look it up. Jack the Ripper is actually a really interesting case.
There's on Wikipedia. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page right now. There's like a picture of like a butchered corpse in a bed. I'm assuming it's evidence. I don't know why it shows that, but it's there, I guess.
Yeah, the cuts were precision cuts, not something that someone who doesn't have the knowledge of cutting into a human would have. Like the way he made the cuts, they were with such precision in the middle of the night that no actual killer, like mental fuck, wouldn't know how to do that unless he's had training. And that's another interesting part of the case when you think about it. So the thing is, I enjoy the Jack the Ripper case, but I don't talk about it often because there's just so much shit around it. Like, I've always been more of the guy who likes the killers that's been caught because I think we are able to actually go into their psyche to understand, if you can, why they did it and shit like that. That's why another one of my favorite was Son of Sam, David Berkowitz. I actually find David Berkowitz to be really interesting because David Berkowitz went from pretty much normal, because as far as I know, I haven't read a lot into his backstory, but David Berkowitz was pretty normal up until the point where his neighbor's dog told. And that's kind of where, like, it began. Because when your dog tells you to shoot people, then I guess you gotta shoot people. Because you always gotta do what your dog says, I guess. So...
Yeah, Riley, you guys tell me to go shoot some people?
You better watch out, Ty, because he probably will.
Yeah.
So, here's the thing. If David Berkowitz would have been intelligent, first of all, the thing about Son of Sam, he killed 6 people, shot him with a .44 caliber pistol, and he would have gotten away with it. But the thing is, you look at the case, he wasn't completely intelligent about it. Sometimes people would see him from the back, sometimes all kinds of shit. He didn't have...
That was just my phone, sorry.
He didn't have the same gall, as you will, as, say, the Zodiac Killer, which was never caught. And he even wrote letters to the police, which they had to decipher using, I think it was a high school teacher who deciphered his letters to the police. And of course, once they knew the code, they could decipher them, and he was basically toying with them, the same thing that Jack the Ripper did. A lot of these cases are actually extremely interesting, and it goes deeper than what you might think. Albert DeSalvo, the Boston Strangler, they found out I don't know, like 20 or 30 years ago, if I remember correctly. I might have that wrong too. But they figured out that he actually didn't strangle all those women. Now, he was the rapist. He raped a lot of women. But what he didn't do was strangle them and tie a bow around their neck. That is what he didn't do. So he actually took the fall for the person who strangled them. So the question is, did Albert DeSalvo, even though he took the fall, even though he did all the rape, he paid for someone else's crime? Do you think that's wrong or not? That's up to you and your moral high ground. But to me, I think the motherfucker was nuts to begin with. So I think he should have went to the mental institution. But obviously, back when he was around raping people, they didn't quite have the same fucking technology that we do for DNA and shit. So,
all right, I'm just gonna bring up that text. That was John. He said that he can't make it to the stream. He said he's playing a game at the moment. So yeah, just gonna put that out there. That's who texted me. It was John. And I do think I do kind of want to bring that up. I think I remember you saying, Chris, that that the majority of like serial killers had like a really, really kind of messed up like life as a child. Like they could have been like abused or bullied or something like that. That actually is, I think, over 90% of the cases of serial killers happen to have that in their as their childhood experience. Like they had an abusive father, or like were bullied or something like that. That actually is a big percentage of serial killers happen to have that backstory. So you are right on that.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's consult the big book. Okay, the best thing you can do is consult the big book. Y'all are like, what the hell's the big book? Let me tell you, it's the Encyclopedia of American Crime. So let's consult the big book and see what it says. All right, let's start our next one. Our next killer will be... Jeffrey Dahmer. Let's start with Jeffrey Dahmer. A lot of people find Jeffrey Dahmer to be interesting. Jeffrey Dahmer, actually, before I continue, there's a new film that I'm pretty sure just came out called, starring some weird Disney Channel star. I don't remember what his name, but he plays Jeffrey Dahmer. That's a weird little thing for you. But Jeffrey Dahmer was court convicted in February 1992 for the murder of 15 young men and boys. Killed them in his apartment. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, now, here is one of my favorite parts about the Dahmer case. Let me shut the big book here for a minute. One of Dahmer's victims escaped, and he got outside. Now remember, his victims were usually drugged. They were drugged to the point of just not knowing where the fuck they were. So he goes outside. This is Dahmer's victim. And the police, okay, the fucking police are standing outside when the victim runs out. And he goes, "There's someone trying to kill me." And Dahmer runs out and wraps, and the guy was naked, by the way. The guy wraps a towel around him, Dahmer, and goes, "Oh, we were just having a lover spat. It's okay, officer." And the officer went, "Oh, okay, cool." And he took the victim back into his apartment, drilled a hole in him, and fucking killed him. Right there. They could have helped that motherfucker, and the police fucked that one up. I always find that type of shit interesting. But Jeffrey Dahmer's case, the thing about Dahmer, when he was younger, his mom, she wasn't abusive, but what she was a mental mind fuck. She always fucked with his head. His dad wasn't huge into him. He was bullied at school a lot. And if you watch the My Friend Dahmer movie, it explains all that shit. Plus, you have to think Jeffrey Dahmer was dealing with the fact that he was homosexual in the time when it wasn't, right to be homosexual. So Jeffrey Dahmer, out of all the social pressure, at the age of 18, walks home one day. Well, not walks. He drives. He drives home one day to his house, and when he goes to his house, all the furniture was gone, and his mom was completely gone. He never seen her again. So Jeffrey Dahmer was left alone at the age, as soon as he turned 18. It was like his fucking birthday. As soon as he turned the age of 18, he was left alone with no parents, nothing. So he went to go live with, I think it was his grandparents. Or maybe it was his stepmom and dad. I think it was stepmom and dad. So he goes to live with his stepmom and dad, where he starts, his behavior, killing animals. A lot of fucked up shit serial killers will do. And he joins the military. Now, over the past few years, there's been new accounts. In fact, there was just a new Jeffrey Dahmer documentary on a couple weeks ago. I actually did watch it and I enjoyed it highly. But apparently, there is some new guys who came out and said he raped them in the military. Honestly, I'm not a huge I think one of the guys is lying. And I know it's kind of fucked up saying that, but let me tell you something. Jeffrey Dahmer was a skinny little motherfucker who couldn't do shit. The guy that he raped was this massive, just muscular motherfucker. Okay? How fucking hard is that? Like, you can't fucking tell me that this scrawny little bastard managed that without that guy's consent. I'm sorry, but I don't believe that shit. Especially since the guy didn't say it until like a year or two ago when Jeffrey Dahmer was starting to come back into the news again. To movies, book deals, all kinds of new shit's coming up about Jeffrey. And I don't know, it just seems like the timing is just perfect, really, for new details, if you will. Like I said, Jeffrey Dahmer moved out of his parents. He goes to live in a low income housing, fucking apartments, mostly in a primarily black neighborhood. So you have this scrawny gay white guy living in, well, the black hood. And he goes in and out very rarely, just to his job. You never see a woman entering his place ever. And then people start to smell stuff. There's that smell, because death always smells. And eventually, after all this killing and after all this shit happens, the police finally go in. and what they find is body parts. And you can actually find the picture online. In fact, I would tell you guys that you should actually go look it up because Jeffrey Dahmer's crime photos are actually really interesting. Especially
the FBI won't be on my ass.
why would what? No, the FBI ain't gonna be on your ass. You can
Okay.
see it on all kinds of crime websites and all kinds of other shit. But one of the photos is actually a decapitated black man, and it's on his kitchen counter. It's a decapitated black man's head, and right next to it was the penis, and right next to that was the ball sack. Had it all laying out on his counter, just sitting there. It's there. You know, because everyone has the decapitated head and penis of a guy on his fucking kitchen counter. So I would advise. See, that's the thing. You should go check out those photos, because there's a lot of harsh shit. But I will tell you, if you're interested in crime, it is pretty interesting to look over the photos of a lot of these serial killers. And that's what I'm assuming that Will's doing because I see it in his face, like he's.
Obviously.
You
But
what do you do? Just
yeah,
do
all you literally have to do is search up Jeffrey Dahmer crime photos, and it's any of the first options. So
yeah, no, it's all of this is public.
What? You can just look that up?
yeah,
Like,
Yeah, because it's
oh, I
all
thought you needed
public
the deep
knowledge.
web to see stuff like that. Jeez.
No,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
I feel like I don't want to see it though, but I feel like I need to see it, but I feel like I don't want to. Let me see here.
it's like no, you should look at crime photos. They're just interesting in general.
I mean, they are what you expect. They're graphic photos of just mutilated corpses.
Yeah.
All right, I see it. All right.
Yep. No, I mean you go look them up.
His severed hands are next to it as well, though. Did you mention that?
Who, me?
Yeah, his hands were also cut off and set next to the head. Did you say that?
Well, I can't fucking remember every goddamn detail of the case.
Okay.
Yeah, he wasn't there. Otherwise, he'd probably be dead.
Jeez, man.
Man.
Anyway, after they found all these, of course, he was sent in prison, where he conducted his last. He talked to people, interviews. He done all his interviews. He was killed in prison, though. He didn't get the death penalty. Well, he didn't have the chance to get the death penalty because he was killed by a black man in prison. So there you go. I guess fucking justice served, if you will. So that's what you get for putting black guys' penises and heads on your counter, I guess. Well, there you go. Let that be a lesson to everyone who wants to do that. I just find these serial killers to be really interesting. So, if you want a serial killer who is really publicized, like way too much, I have two. I have two serial killers who I think are way too publicized for their own good. Because first of all, they didn't really do anything to deserve all the publicity. And that is Ed Gein and Charles Manson, which he's going to come up since he just.
Charles Manson died like recently, didn't he?
Yep. In fact, they just buried him.
I might bring up something about Charles Manson real quick. Did you know that he was also a musician? Did you know that?
Yeah, I knew, Ty. Did you know that he was from our home state?
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's actually something I
but he didn't
never knew about
anyone.
Charles Manson.
Like he didn't actually kill anyone. He just kind of led people to kill other people, correct?
Yep. Yeah, no, William, that's a fact. Go look it up. Charles Manson was from West Virginia. He was from Raleigh, I think. I'm not too sure, but he is from West Virginia.
Huh.
Yep, that's where his mom had him. So it's interesting. But I wanted to cover Ed Gein before we got to Manson. The reason why I think Gein is way too publicized is Ed Gein, that we know of and that was proven, only killed 2 people, which doesn't really necessarily make him a serial killer. What Ed Gein was a grave robber. Like when Ed Gein had all the skulls and the body parts and all that shit in his house, a lot of that wasn't from victims, it was from grave robbing. When he had skulls with liquid in them, he would use as a cup. When he had like laying bones hanging from the ceiling, like I said, a lot of that was grave robber shit. Now, of course, that's not saying he is a killer. He deserves everything he got because he is a killer. Um, in fact, one of the women that he killed, you can actually find the photo, and if you want to go look it up, just type in Ed Gein, fucking crime photos, or whatever you want, and it will show the picture of the woman hanging from the rafter in the barn where she was split from the vagina all the way down to the chest. Because that's what they had. That's what he had sitting in his barn when the police found him. And you can go online, find it. Fucking should be the first thing that pops up.
What's his
So
name?
Ed Gein.
Ed Gein.
Yeah, Ed Gein. Edgein.
Okay.
Probably spelled that wrong. At least his last name, because
Gein.
that's what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I spelled
Did
it right.
he like wait? Did he use like people's faces as like masks? What did he do?
He done a lot. Like it's not what movies and like books and shit make
What the
it out to
hell?
be.
There's like an Ed Gein like action figure came up when I looked him up. Like, why would they make that?
I don't know, but I kind of want that on my shelf. Uh,
Of course you would.
hey, I mean, if it's designed cool, I want it. But no, like he done shit. He wore women's clothing and danced around in the moonlight in women's clothing. He was a cross dresser. Every Ed Gein legend has some sort of like truth to it. But what I'm saying is he's not as big. Like he didn't do as much as a lot of people want you to believe. Like, God, I have to go back to film, but Psycho. Psycho is loosely based on Ed Gein. Same with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They're not really based on him, but they got a lot of their material from his case. Um, so I think he's definitely just way too publicized as a killer because he just didn't kill that many people. I don't consider him a serial killer. I just consider him a guy who killed 2 people. Serial killer, if I'm pretty sure the meaning, it has to be more than 3 or 4. So that's serial. You can go right now and check out the FBI's actual meaning for serial killers. In fact, what you could do is go on their website anyway and check out the meanings of mass shooters, serial killers, and all kinds of shit, because a lot of their meanings is actually different than what the media tells you or what you probably know. And I find that to be actually really interesting. But the other one is, of course, fucking Charles Manson. Charles Manson, as far as we know, and as far as been proven, never killed anybody that he led did. Or
Yeah, he was really inspired by like the White Album by the Beatles, wasn't he?
I
Like
mean,
the song Helter Skelter, right?
well, yeah, but we'll get to that in a second.
All right.
The thing is, Charles Manson didn't kill anyone. That is, as far as we know, that is fact. That's fact to the T. But what he did do was lead crazy bitches into killing people. Now, honestly, I do think Charles Manson was one crazy motherfucker. I don't believe he was a murderer, and I don't consider him a serial killer. Now, what I do consider him is a cult leader. Now, going by the meanings, a cult leader is not the same thing as a serial killer. That is a fact. Cult leaders are completely different than serial killers. We don't put Jim Jones, even though he, ordered the death of over 900 of his members, in the same category as Jeffrey Dahmer. That's just not how it goes. We don't put fucking David Koresh in the same league as John Wayne Gacy. We just don't do that. It's two completely different things. And that's why I don't think Charles Manson should be a serial killer. Like, I know I'm getting splitting hairs here, but he's not a serial killer. He's a cult leader. That's two different things. And no, I don't think that he should have been in prison for as long as he was. In fact, instead of being in prison, I think he should have been in the fucking nut house where he belonged. So that's my personal opinion. Like I said, don't think he's a serial killer. And like I was saying before, I think he's publicized way too much. He got way too much fucking attention. Too many movies, too many books. And I get it. It's an interesting case, involves more than one person, so it's inherently interesting of how he could lead so many people to do something. But honestly, if I was to critique Charles Manson, I would say he's a terrible cult leader. He's a terrible serial killer. And if I wanted to look at a true cult leader, like I said before, I'd look at Jim Jones.
Wait,
Jones.
so was Charles Manson? Was his thing? Is he a lot of people that were killed are black, right? Because he was a racist, right?
No.
No, that's what I keep. When I looked him up, I saw a lot of stuff about like racist or racism or something.
No, he wanted to start a race war.
Oh.
No, he didn't kill black people. In fact, as far as I know, the only black person he even went after was a fucking pimp that he stabbed. He didn't kill him, he stabbed him. No, most of the people he killed were white, rich people, and he killed them because when he killed them and he wrote the helter skelter, fuck the pigs, and all that shit, it was a message that he was trying to get, trying to put on black people. They would have thought that black people had came in, killed all these white upper class motherfuckers, and then a big old race war was started. It didn't work because Charles Manson is mentally handicapped, fucking retarded, and just fucking loony. So of course it didn't goddamn work. So, and that's, and like I said, that's why I don't really have that much, as far as serial killers go and everything else. I have no fucking respect for him. I don't think he deserved any of the attention. I had to pick cult leader. Would have picked Jim Jones. 900 people died under his command by drinking fucking Kool-Aid. That's a cult leader. If I was going to pick a fucking serial killer, would have picked Ted Bundy, Gacy, 40 people. Gacy killed 40 people. That's a fucking serial killer.
John Wayne Gacy is a pretty big, I guess in pop culture for serial killers as well, isn't he?
He is. John Wayne Gacy is publicized a lot, but I will admit I do think he deserves it for the fact that he killed 40 motherfuckers, buried them under his own house, and then, well, after that, in prison, he just kind of acted normal. In fact, there's a book, and, well, now there's a movie. It's called The Last Victim, and what it was one of the last people who actually had correspondence with Gacy before he was killed. He talked to Gacy, and Gacy psychologically fucked him up so bad that several years after Gacy was killed, the guy killed himself. So technically, that was Gacy's last victim. Now, Gacy is extremely interesting. He was a leader in the community. He worked for the Democratic Party on several lines. He met one of the president's wife. He was
he lived in my state originally.
Well, there you go. He was well respected in the community. He would show up in clown outfit to kids' fucking birthday parties.
Yeah, he was probably, if you think about it, he probably was a big influence on on the film and the book It, if you think about it. Wasn't he?
Well, no.
No, not really.
No. What he actually was an inspiration to was certain bands, like the band Acid Bath, that actually.
Oh, that's a great band. I love Acid Bath.
That actually used his drawing on one of their albums.
Yeah, I know. That's When the Sky Kite String Pops.
That would be it. So yeah, no, Gacy has a lot of pop culture significance, and I don't blame people for, wondering about him because, like I said, everyone thought he was normal. He wasn't. So Honestly, I thought in my opinion, I think he hated himself. John Wayne Gacy was homosexual. Now,
No,
after
I
he
think he's
went,
bisexual, wasn't he?
well,
Didn't he have like a wife and kids?
yeah, just listen to me for a
All right.
second.
All right.
Here's the thing. John Wayne Gacy, I think, was homosexual. You can
All
say
right.
he can say bisexual all he wants. Here's the difference. If he was openly bi or bi in general, he wouldn't have had such a fear of homosexuals that he did. He hated himself. And that was one of the things that I think and will almost always believe that led him to commit, well, crimes against homosexuals. He was a self hating gay. And that's why he raped them and fucking tortured them and shit. He was a self hating gay. Because he just didn't, I guess he just didn't, no one accepted him if he came out, I guess. Is that what is what he thought. So, Gacy is an interesting case. He is interesting. So,
I think let me think. What there was one that I kind of had I forgot what it was, so I didn't. Yeah. I probably need to go. There was one I had that I was going to bring up. I forgot what it was though. Let me see here. You can continue. It's probably going to take a while before. Yeah, let me see here.
I actually had a couple myself, which was actually the Zodiac Killer and Jack the Ripper, and as well as even the oh god, what was the other one? Because the cases that I like is the ones that are unsolved and the person was never caught. Those are the ones that I really like the most, just because it still remains a mystery to this day of who they were, what their motives were, and etc. The Atlanta Ripper, that's who the third one was.
Atlantic River. Wasn't he caught?
I don't think so.
Are you no. Are you talking about the Atlantic child murderer? Is that who you're talking about? Because they caught him in the 90s, and I mean now apparently there's all kinds of proof that said he didn't do it. I don't know if that's who you're talking about. His name was it Orlando Williams or something? What the fuck was his name?
No, I don't think that's the same one that I'm thinking of.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, because I know the Atlantic child murderer. They caught him, and he was there for years, but apparently they proved that he didn't do it or some shit. I didn't really keep up with that case. Thought
I don't know. It was like a big killer, like back in 1911, I think, and he killed like 15 women, I believe.
Wasn't there? I think there was actually. I remember what I was going to say. Wasn't there? You know any of the Alcatraz people? You know about the guy who collected birds in like the Alcatraz prison?
I fairly remember that. Yeah.
I'm actually, this is kind of interesting. You know how I found out about this guy? You want to hear how?
How?
It was when I was in I was in school and I read a book, and then one of the books was about people about Alcatraz, and he was one of the people in it. But I was in like I was in like middle school, I think, and I forgot what he did. I think he was convicted of manslaughter, but he supposedly like he had like birds in his cell, and he would like take care of them and like feed them and stuff like that. And they were actually thinking of releasing him at some point because of the fact that he seemed so gentle in caring towards like the birds. But he died before he was even released anyway, like at the age of 73.
let's see. Well, I want to talk about three. There's three killers that really they get no attention. Well, let's start with the first one.
I'm pretty sure every killer got attention, except for the ones that just magically poofed.
Well, let's talk about the Cropsey killer. I have a feeling neither of you will know who this is. So
it rings a bell, but
no, I'm not sure.
Okay, Well, there was a hospital in There's a hospital on Staten Island called the Willowbrook Hospital. Willowbrook Hospital is a hospital, shut down hospital for mentally handicapped individuals. You can actually go look it up. There's several documentaries on it. It's a very, very interesting place to learn about. Willowbrook Hospital. Like, it's sad as fuck, I'm gonna tell you. But anyway, it was a place where in the 70s people put their children or family members who were mentally handicapped, had a lot of mental problems, all that shit, whatever. And of course, in the hospital, it was in decrepit condition. The staff members were abusive. Terrible fucking place to be. Like I said, all kinds of good documentaries you can look up on it, and it's a very interesting. There's actually a very interesting documentary on what I'm about to talk about, which is called Cropsey. Uh, After the hospital closed down, uh, there was bodies found of a lot of autistic and Down syndrome kids that were killed. Well, what happened was they actually ended up finding the killer. And the killer himself, apparently, according to reports, was mentally handicapped himself. And the kids of Staten Island actually dubbed him the Cropsey Killer because there's a legend that a monster called Cropsey apparently runs around Staten Island at night and kills people in the hospital. That's the legend. Well, that's why they called this guy the Cropsey Killer. And he went to jail. Now he's been there. I don't know if he died. The documentary came out, I think, in 2011. I might be wrong. But he's still in prison, and they have the evidence to convict him. But I'm pretty sure a lot of people are on his side because, there's apparently just not enough, but there is some there, you know what I'm saying? So if you want a really interesting killer to look up, you definitely should check out the Cropsey Killer. I think it's a really interesting story, especially the fact that it's not every day that we get a serial killer of mentally handicapped people. That never fucking happens. So when that does happen, it's kind of like just, yeah, it's interesting. Just type in the Cropsey Killer, and it should bring it up.
Yeah, Cropsey. Yeah, I probably should have. So if he was mentally handicapped, you don't mean that he was like mentally challenged. You mean he was like he couldn't walk, right?
I mean, he could walk. He could obviously walk. He walked his ass straight into the prison.
He was mentally challenged then, right?
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah, no. And he killed mentally challenged people. That's what I'm saying. This is a really interesting case, especially if you're a psychologist or you're interested in psychology or how killers think. So you should definitely check it out. But one of the ones that I gotta talk about is the Robin Hood Hills Killers, or the Memphis Trio, or the Devil Knot Killers, if you will. Now, the reason I'm bringing them up is because quite recently they were let out of prison. And they were let out of prison because even though there was evidence, of course, there was a lot of other shit in the case. There was public pressure, a lot of public pressure. Fucking Johnny Depp came out on the serial killer side. That's something when fucking Johnny Depp says they need to be released. If you want, if you want a good documentary that talks about these three killers, Paradise Lost, the first documentary, and the last two, because there's a trilogy, the last two are actually about them trying to get them out of prison. Well, here's what happened. There were three kids riding on their bikes. They go into the woods, and there were three older. They were like 18, 19. They were younger than your average serial killer, well, except for, whole fucking mass murder kids now. But what they did was Jesse Miss Kelly, Damien Eccles, and oh, what the fuck's the other ones? Something Baldwin. I can never remember his first name. But they tied up these kids by their ankles and wrists with shoestrings, and they proceeded to castrate one of them and stab them all to death, and then put them in the river. One of the kids tried to escape. Jesse and Miss Kelly ran after him, grabbed him, beat him up, brought him back, and they proceeded to kill him. Well, the whole town, after these kids went missing, were looking for them. They couldn't find them. Well, eventually they found them. Now, after finding them, they had to go look for evidence, because that's what you do. Well, they found a bloody knife behind Damien Eccles' house in a river. Now, at the same time that they were finding these kids, a big black man walked into a Popeyes restaurant, covered in blood, and that was it. And then he walked out. I just want to point that out, because that's actually a part of this case.
Did he not even order any chicken?
No, he did not.
God damn.
I know.
That shocks the hell out of me. A black man who walks into a Popeyes and don't order chicken. What the hell is that all about?
No, see, like, I'm being serious. Like, I know it just sounds so fucked up, but that's apparently it's in the case. The black guy is in the bathroom covered in blood, and the chicken walks out. Police never fucking get him, whatever. So they find the knife in the kid's backyard. Well, under his bed, Damon Eccles, when they search a house, they find the kid's penis in a shoebox. Okay. Well, what happened was, and this is how they found the penis, the bloody knife, all this good shit. Jesse Miss Kelly, with the guilt of killing 4 children, went to the police, him and his father, and after the police fucking policed him, he admitted to the murders of these kids with fucking Damien Eccles and fucking Baldwin. I don't remember what the goddamn kid's first name is. And of course, they brought him in with the evidence, and they were arrested. 2 of them were arrested and put in. Damien Eccles had not a life sentence. He was on death row. They're actually going to kill him. And then, of course, like I said, all these documentaries came out, and it attracted media attention. People like Johnny Depp, Reese Witherspoon said, well, they're innocent because...
Shit out of their ass.
Yeah. Well, because one of the things is a lot of people where... like Damien Eccles and them, they were kind of the outsiders. Fucking Damien Eccles was a Satanist, and he had, band t-shirts and shit. So Johnny Depp seen Damien Eccles and was like, oh, he's an outsider. Of course the town would pick on him, even though they found the cock under his bed. But, people...
He was saving it for later.
I guess. People be picking on him. And Johnny Depp remembers how when he was younger, he was picked on for being the outsider too. Blah. So, yeah, and then now, all 3 of them are out, so think about that. They took an Alfred plea, which means you're still guilty, but by saying that you're guilty, you're able to get out of jail. So they got out of jail. Now, I want to make this point about this case. Those 3 murderers, okay, 2 of them made off like fucking bandits, okay? One of them was treated like a piece of shit and went back to live in the trailer park. The guy who reported it, the one who couldn't live with his conscience, the one who, knew it was wrong to kill people, went back to live in the trailer park. The other 2, I shit you not, you can look this up, went on vacation with celebrities. Damien Eccles hung out with Johnny Depp. Baldwin hung out with the guy who made Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. In fact, he actually was on the filming for The Hobbit. He was on set of The Hobbit. Yeah, this child murderer got out and was on set of The Hobbit. The Hobbit, guys. The Hobbit. Peter Jackson. Yeah. Yeah, no. So yeah,
Yeah.
three child murderers got out scot free. One of them, the one that turned them in, is now living in a trailer park again. Ain't doing nothing. And then the other two live the good life. Damien Eccles is living in New York City with his new wife. He makes art, because of fucking course he does. And the other one lives in California, and he stands up for prisoners' rights, prisoners who were wrongly convicted, just like him. So, but the funniest shit, though, is he stands up for serial killers who were wrongly convicted, not for, black guys who were wrongly convicted, shit like that. Doesn't stand against police brutality or nothing like that, because that makes too much sense. So,
it's just absolute blasphemy.
Yeah, that just makes too much sense. We ain't gonna stand, against actual problems.
Yeah, just throw out the fucking window. Just fuck it.
Yeah.
Don't even care.
Yep. So yeah, no, I actually find that case to be extremely interesting as well, because it's one of the only ones in American history that managed to garner so much fucking support from people like movie actors and shit. Like, amazing. They even made a shitty movie about it called The Devil's Knots. It's not worth a watch, by the way. There's a lot of lying in there, and it's not worth it.
A lot of bullshit.
Yeah, like it's The Devil's Knot was not fucking worth watching. But no, I find them to be pretty interesting. Okay, we're at 11 o'clock, but I feel like we can go probably a half hour more. I'm feeling it. Or at least 15 minutes, because I'm not done bitching.
You never are.
I know. When you get me on the rant like this, especially on shit like this, I can't help it. Like, I'm as giddy as a goddamn fat ass weeboo guy when the new fucking Sailor Moon comes out, okay? That's how giddy I am right now. Like,
Hey Carter, what episode are you on Evangelion? All right.
Speaking of weeboos. Anyway, so here's my question. Y'all have anything? Because I don't know. I've been talking the past half hour, and my ass is kind of fucking winded at the second. So.
I mean, honestly, I really don't have nothing. Literally, the notes that I had, which I don't know where the fuck they went. It's been a fucking week since I wrote them, and so I don't know. But
what were you about to say?
But they were based on the killers I said before, like the Zodiac Killer and Jack Ripper and all that.
How about we talk about the Zodiac Killer? I'm not exactly sure what he did. All I know about him is that people thought that, I forgot his name, that one guy who was going to run for president, people kept saying he was the Zodiac Killer.
Are you talking about Ted Cruz's dad being the... You mean the guy comes out of his ass at the last minute?
Yeah, but...
Anyway.
That's all I know about him, honestly. But
yeah, well, it's kind of amazing because he also killed Kennedy. So I gotta give Cruz's dad a lot of credit, because that motherfucker managed to kill like 7 people as a Zodiac Killer, get away with it, and shoot Kennedy. Gotta give that motherfucker some credit. I'm telling you. Yeah. He was responsible for, a lot of fucking, cases, apparently. So, actually, in my mind, one came up. Now, Ty won't remember this. I remember this. I mean, me and fucking Real Deal here, we were young. But you might remember this. Do you remember the Beltway snipers?
Think I fairly do.
Okay, the Beltway snipers was two black guys turned Muslim who actually was sniping people in Washington, D.C. They killed, how many? 10, I think? I don't remember the exact numbers, because I'm not a huge fan of the case, because I always thought guns, even though I like Berkowitz, I think, sniper rifles is one of those things where it's kind of like, well, of course you can kill people with a fucking sniper rifle. You're fucking sniping them from like a mile away. I mean, there's no fun in that, But apparently they thought there was a lot of fun sniping people. But yeah, no, I actually, the Beltway Snipers was probably one that you might actually remember. It was in 2001. So I remember watching it on TV with my mom at the time. Because when they caught them, everyone was like, oh my god, they must be terrorists. And it's like, kind of. But, they're snipers. What they did was, they had a car.
Well, hang on. So what the fuck was you watching? The Indian channel?
Yes.
Oh my god! They must be terrorists.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
Oh my god! It's the Indian News Network.
Caution: no shitting on the carpet. Thank you.
What?
Thanks, Ty. I didn't know that. Thanks. I will not shit on my carpet. I'm glad that you tell me that.
What the fuck? Oh my. All right.
No shitting on the carpet. Okay. Cool.
So I'm just, it's just because I saw this one image that had like an airport in it, like a sign, and it said, all right, Indian staff shitting on the carpet is strictly prohibited. Thank you. It's like a sign.
No shitting on carpet.
That is so we are so off topic now. Anyway, Beltway Snipers gutted out like the back of their car, and then they would lay down and put the barrel through like the keyhole or whatever, like a little fucking hole they made in the back. And
okay, yeah, I remember like that bit there.
Yeah, man, that shit was on the news fucking all the time when it was on. You don't have to be an old person to remember this shit, so I remember this shit. I'm not old. I don't think I'm old. I'm still a young stud. I'm just saying.
You're 23. Going on 24.
Exactly, young. So there you go. But I remember the Beltway Snipers. I also remember the Poughkeepsie murders too, which is weird because a lot of people's forgotten about that. But it was like a black guy and his family, and the black guy was killing people and then putting them under his house, kind of like Gacy, by the way. And yet the family didn't notice, which is like, I mean, Gacy's family didn't notice either, but they were home all the time. The Poughkeepsie's family was like home all the time. Eventually you have to wonder what that smell is. Like, I don't know, man. That one gets me, because I just don't realize how you don't fucking, realize that. Like, I don't know.
I think I might bring up one thing. Has anyone ever heard of the Bjork stalker?
The Bjork? Isn't that a fucking car? Does it stalk the cars?
No, Bjork is like an Icelandic singer. But there was this one guy who was a pest control guy, and he had an obsession with this Icelandic singer Bjork, which he's a great musician. All right, but anyways, now basically what he the Bjork at one point was dating this one guy who was black. I forgot the name of the guy, and he was like super pissed that she was dating him, and I guess he wanted I guess somehow he kind of thought that he would end up with her. But I think he was originally from somewhere in South America, and he lives in Florida, I believe. He was a pest control guy, and let's see. So once he found out he was dating her, he was also racist. He was not only mad. I think a big reason why he was mad is because the guy was black, who she was dating. Now, anyway, so basically, he made like a bunch of almost like not really snuff films, but he made like all these videos about him kind of planning out all this stuff, because he was planning basically on like sending her a letter bomb. They had this type of like powder, like this stuff in it that would basically kill her when she opens it. And he made all these videos and stuff like that. And one thing that's actually kind of disturbing is actually when he's going out, if like he gets a call from work and he's talking on the phone, he seems like just a regular, like kind of almost very kind of conscious person. But then when he goes back talking about Bjork, he's basically insane. And in the videos, he had like posters of her on the wall. He had like her music playing in the background. And on the last video he had, he was completely naked. You can kind of progress over time. You can kind of see he's gaining more and more weight. And at the last video, he basically has his whole body is basically painted red, like some kind of red. He's head shaved. He's very, very overweight, and he has like this. And he's basically sitting in a chair. He has a gun, and he basically puts the pistol in his mouth and shoots himself right after. Like the package has already been delivered to her house at that point. I mean, not delivered to her house. It's being delivered, in the process of being delivered. And he shot himself in the mouth. And it reveals there's like this picture, this picture on like the chair, like pasted on the chair that says "the best of me." And then, but later, luckily, she did not receive the letter because basically people in the apartment complained of like a really bad smell coming up from upstairs, and police investigated it and they found his body and they watched the tapes and they found out that he was sending a letter bomb to her. So they basically cut off canceled the package before it could get to her. And she when she found out about it, she was very, very distraught and creeped out. And she said that she was very worried about the safety of her child. But she actually did send like a letter, like almost like an apology like thing to his family, though, I believe. And let's see. And I think she actually broke up with the guy shortly after, just because she was so distraught over the thing that she had occurred. It's kind of sad though, because that honestly might be one of the worst soccer cases I've ever heard of, in my opinion, though. But yeah,
that's pretty interesting, if I do say so myself.
Yeah.
I don't really ever go to the comments on these, but I'm going to go to the comments real quick because William was talking about the Atlanta
I thought there'd
Ripper
be more
earlier,
people
right?
watching, honestly.
Yep. Kara actually said it's Atlanta Ripper and was a member of KKK. So yeah, there you go. I actually, like I said, I don't know that one. Like when people say Atlanta and I think of serial killers, I think of the Atlanta child murderer. Some black guy in a black neighborhood killing black kids. He was homosexual, and then it turns out that, I don't know, like 20 years later, he was innocent. So it's an interesting case. If you want to, find out anything about that, go check out the Atlanta child murders. It's pretty interesting, if I do say so. So now, here's the thing. I actually, for a minute, I thought about adding like cult leaders and bombers, but I do think we should save that for another podcast. Because for like cult leaders, dude, I fucking love me some cult leaders, and I could go on for hours about that shit. I could talk about Waco for like 2 weeks alone, and then I could talk about Jim Jones shit for like 2 weeks. So we're just gonna save cult leaders for later, and that will be in the future. So we're just going to say that one for later. But we will talk about bombers because, oddly enough, we just had a bomber.
Yep.
B-17 bomber.
Don't you just love how it always goes quiet right after he does? Anyway, no, we just had a fucking bomber guy sending out fucking packages with bombs in them. We haven't seen that in a while. Because most of the time when it comes to bombings, let's be honest, it's fucking suicide bombers nowadays. I mean, not in America, but like other places. But no, the last bomber we had before then that I remember was like the shoe bomber on the airplane. And before that, of course, it was the fucking Unabomber. Bombers are pretty fucking rare nowadays. So actually, I find it very interesting that this weird right-wing conservative guy just started bombing people, like people he didn't like. Because, like I said, most people just shoot people now. Bombs is just one of those things that you don't do, as Americans don't do, because we're lazy. Fuck buying a goddamn box. I'd rather just have the 9 billion bullets I have stored away, put them in the goddamn gun, and pew 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 pew. So, I guess it's just easier. So, I don't know, man. It just interests me that this whole bomber shit happened like right before our serial killer shit happened. Right before we done our serial killer thing. So, I'm just gonna say that that is interdestined. So,
I think there's another person I might bring up. Now there is this rapper called X-Rated, and he was actually charged for murdering someone. But actually, what's interesting is he had an album called Psychoactive, which is basically just all about murder and killing. And there's actually one song that almost like describes the future case of where he basically killed someone almost that was made before he did it. That was almost just seemed like it was just a hint of something that would happen in the future. Basically, and even the weapon, basically on the cover, it's basically him putting a gun up to his head, and they believe that gun was the weapon that he used to murder him. And I think he was like a Crip, I believe. But I would see he was from, I forgot where he was from. It says probably somewhere in like, yeah, it does. Wait, he was from California. Okay.
Well, I'd say if he was a Crip, then he would definitely have to be around California or somewhere around that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, man, serial killer wise, we didn't even crack like anything because we still got the buddy serial killers like fucking Bono. What the fuck was it? Oh, God, why can't I never remember their names? Sunset Strip killers. We got Otis Toole and Lucas. Fucking tons of shit. So.
Right. I mean, not to mention like the copycat killers as well.
True. I actually do want to bring up Henry Lee Lucas real quick, because Henry Lee Lucas, he's an interesting motherfucker. If you don't know who he is, look him up. Henry Lee Lucas only killed one person that anyone ever knew of. It was his grandma, and he fucked her corpse.
Oh, okay.
Oh dear.
It's all wrinkly and gross and moist.
And
Why would you do that?
And saggy and deteriorating. So
yeah, dead. Like you can go the whole saggy old age. No. Dead. Dead is where the line has to be drawn at fucking dead, guys.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's honestly one of the worst things I've ever heard in my life. I got to be honest with you.
The guy fucking his dead grandma?
Yes, it's terrible. It's like everything wrong put into one.
Yeah, but like, okay, I had to bring it up because it just always. So that was his crime. Well, after that, he goes to prison. This motherfucker goes, "I'm the greatest serial killer of all time. I killed hundreds, hundreds." So what happened was the police were like, "Holy shit, this motherfucker killed hundreds of people." So what they did was they let him lead them around looking for these bodies. Guess what they never found? Fucking bodies. He's fucking mentally insane. He never killed more than one people, and yet he says that he's the greatest serial killer who ever lived. And movies like Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, fucking apparently think that, he definitely did it when, one motherfucker, his grandma, and he had sex with her corpse. What kind of fucking motherfucker has sex with their dead grandma's corpse? I'm sorry, but like, fucking a corpse, cannibal, I don't know, but fucking your grandma's corpse?
That just draws the line.
It's not even like, yeah. Like, I don't know, man. Like, what? Yeah, no. Let's see, other serial killers. I mean, it's not like there ain't plenty of them. Let's consult the big book.
Well, yeah, we barely scratched the surface of serial killers in general.
Yeah, know about that big book.
Do what?
Nothing. Nothing. I was just saying big book.
I got the big book.
That big book, though,
got the big book?
it's thick.
I got the big book.
That thick.
Ah, okay. Here we go. I don't know how the fuck we didn't cover him. I guess it's time we talk about Ted Bundy. In fact,
Of course, Ted Bundy.
let's end it on Ted because
Yeah.
yep. So that way, when people get off here, they can all go to bed with Ted. So let's talk about Ted.
I'd rather not.
Let's talk about Ted. Okay, Ted Bundy. Now I'm gonna try and talk about Ted Bundy out of my own head. Ted Bundy is one of those killers that I don't know how to explain it. He's extremely popular and for all the wrong reasons. Ted Bundy was an extremely likable man. Apparently, he was well into the political spectrum. He was a lawyer. He wanted to go into politics. He was a fucking Republican. He was with the Republican committees. If you look right here, he had worked as a counselor at a crisis clinic. He became assistant director of the Seattle Crime Prevention Advisory Commission. He had written a rape prevention pamphlet for women. Keep that in mind.
How ironic.
Yeah. He got a letter of commendation from the governor of Washington for once capturing a purse snatcher in a shopping mall. So, yeah. Saying Ted Bundy wasn't a stand-up guy at the time, you would have been an asshole. This motherfucker saved people's lives when he worked for the suicide hotline. What he didn't do was after he got off the suicide hotline, he didn't save lives because he went and took lives when he killed women by hitting them with objects, strangle them, you name it. This motherfucker done what he could because his name is Ted fucking Bundy. Now, the interesting thing about Ted Bundy is in court, when they actually finally caught him, he was his own lawyer. Ted Bundy stepped in as his own lawyer, and he stood for himself, and he was doing a damn good job. In fact, it's very possible that Ted Bundy might have got off scot-free because all the evidence that they had against him was pretty much hearsay. But one thing fucked Ted Bundy over in the end. Do you know what that was?
What?
Do you know, Will?
Used to, don't know.
Ted Bundy, on one of his victims, bit her ass cheek. So, when they had her corpse, he bit it hard enough to leave the indentation and make a wound. So, what happened was they were able to match the bite with his teeth. Got him. Because that's the thing. The motherfucker, he was doing a good job. But you can't fucking argue because that evidence, when it matches to your teeth, spot fucking perfect, there's no more arguing. That's straight up, you're going to jail. But another little interesting fact that a lot of, Ted Bundy people bring up, people who've studied him, is that when Ted Bundy was in prison, as they were about to execute him, the security guard, instead of gently putting like cotton balls up his ass like they were supposed to, the security guard apparently just took his hand, put it like a giant fucking block of cotton balls, and then just fucking fisted him straight in and dropped them in.
God.
And then they fried his ass. So, boom. So there you go. And of course, if you want to learn more about Ted Bundy and how, he pretended to be disabled a lot of time to get women's attention to where he could kill them, make them feel sorry for him.
Was he that guy who was like really attractive, but he was actually like a serial killer? Was he like that guy? Was that the person I'm thinking of?
Yeah.
Now, not to bring up movies again, but I'm going to have to bring up a movie again. The new Ted Bundy movie is actually coming out, and I'm actually interested in seeing it because the guy playing Ted Bundy in the movie is Zac Efron.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting.
Zac Efron is going to play Ted Bundy.
That's something I have to see.
I am very, very interested in seeing it. First of all, I like a lot. Like, I've watched a lot of serial killer movies anyway. But I'm extremely interested to see how Zac Efron becomes Ted Bundy. That is something I'm interested in seeing. So, that's something I want to see. So. All right. Well, I mean, we're a little early. But, I think we've done a good conversation. This topic was way too broad to cover in, just one podcast anyway.
Yeah. So most likely we'll have to do a second one on serial killers just to put out more there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll have to do that, and what we can do is when that one comes up eventually, we'll have to fucking actually look for more and take notes and shit and talk. But like I said, the next two podcasts, for anyone that is still watching, the next one is on TV shows, and the one after that is on suicide. So,
yes. All right.
But before those, we actually have a stream with the fans next Friday.
Yeah, right? Yes, we do. We do have a stream with the fans. So, all right. Well, then it has been cool, and it is time to shut her down. So, hope y'all enjoyed the conversation on serial killers, and peace the fuck out.
Peace out, everyone.